That leaves just 0.5% of the whole Earth's water available for human consumption and needs. But as artificial intelligence centers continue to pop up all over the world and right here in Iowa and Illinois, that water supply is becoming more strained. That's because AI data centers require a lot of water. But just how big is this impact? For that, we turn to Ana Pineda-Privet, Director of Research Applications and New Research Initiatives at the University of Illinois. Ana, thank you so much for being with us. You spent a lot of time looking into this topic. Can you start with the basics? Why do AI data centers need water?
Thank you for having me. Okay, just going back to the beginning of the conversation, if you think about AI, they're basically these large algorithms and models that are trying to simulate human intelligence, right? And this is all done in what we call data centers, so that there's physical facilities that have a lot of servers that basically are doing a lot of computation continuously, 24/7. To do that, they use a lot of energy, and a byproduct of that computation is the generation of heat. And as you might know, computers and heat don't go too well together. If you recall, especially in the old days, our computers would get pretty hot and turn off and shut down. And that's really not a good thing. And the best way and the most traditional way of doing that is by using water as a way to evaporate that heat.
How much water are we talking about with this?
So it really depends on what size of data centers we're talking about. Like the big data centers that we call hyperscale data centers, if you think of like the Google email and the data centers that are used for AI, those have a pretty large footprint in terms of water consumption. So the average is been found to have, like, for a hyperscale data center to consume about 550,000 gallons of water per day. And if that is not easy to wrap around, just imagine that on average in the United States, a person consumes 132 gallons of water in a day. So that would be the equivalent to more than 4,000, about 4,200 people equivalent of water that one data center uses in one day, which is a lot of water.
And we're talking, at this point, thousands of data centers around the world. So, Ana, when you're looking into this, are there any government groups or organizations here in the US that are tracking this water usage?
So that's, in my opinion, one of the concerns. There's not as much transparency as we needed, ideally, to understand this problem, especially because it is a new problem and a new process, and this is growing so fast. That really adding additional transparency to this process is really important.
So there's a shortage of drinking water, and whatever water we have available, we're going to feed the AI data centers. Okay, that makes sense. So we get the dirty Flint waters while the computer data centers get pristine, fresh, great water. Okay, with that amount of water, you know how much people you can feed for at least a day? It's crazy what they're doing, guys. That's scary. And we can't re-drink the water that goes onto the AI bots, AI data centers. It turns into mercury and bad carcinogens and bad byproducts for the planet. Why can't the data centers use tap water? That's what I thought too. Why can't they use dirty lake water? That's like reverse osmosis or something. Y'all can't like reconstitute some dirty water to give to the fucking robots and give us the clean water. Anyways, guess who has the most hyperscale data centers in the world? Just take a guess. And guess whose water supply is gonna go first? They already sell air in a can, like the Lorax. They're going to be selling clean water because all that's going to be available is dirty water.
Humanity has a littering habit. From the deep sea up into the sky. Space debris is now a well-established problem. Around 70% of the 20,000 satellites ever launched remain in space today, orbiting alongside hundreds of millions of fragments left behind by collisions, explosions, and intentional destruction. And the outlook is worsening year on year. For each satellite, ESA has to perform twice as many collision avoidance maneuvers than it did 10 years ago, with some operators reporting 2 such maneuvers per month per satellite. But the challenge we face now is nothing compared to what is to come. A new era is here, the commercial space race. Access to space has become faster, easier, and cheaper, and vast constellations of satellites are dominating entire orbits on a first-come, first-served basis. Current predictions indicate that by 2030, the number of active satellites orbiting our planet could reach 100,000. Every additional satellite burns new rocket emissions, increases collision risks, and stains the skies for astronomy. Humanity's exploitation threatens a common inheritance, a common benefit, a cycle we are not unfamiliar with. International regulations and space debris mitigation measures are limited, and we are only just beginning to see the consequences of this new, complex, and unregulated mix of institutional and commercial space activity.
Guys, what if when we look up in the sky at night, those aren't stars? What if it is satellites? That'd be crazy, huh? I don't want to think that they were scared of global warming at one point. You know, the emissions from the cars, you know, the aerosol cans, etc. The Cheetos going in the air that's putting the cheese, Swiss cheese in the ozone layer. Well, that's nothing compared to the planet being covered by satellites, and we aren't able to get sunlight, or just nature isn't able to be at its fully functional, optimal self. These rich people are just stopping the planet from what it's doing naturally. No wonder why the United States feels like a damn matrix with all these damn data centers in it. Again, are all these data centers helpful to the people in any kind of way? Because we've been on the planet a lot longer than these AI data centers, and we've been doing perfectly fine. We've been inventing things. What has AI and data centers given us besides an app or learning how to code? Like, seriously, besides a high bill, like y'all seen in my last videos, we're paying for Starlink. We are paying for Facebook metadata. We're paying for Grok. Even if we don't want it up, guys, I showed y'all that. This is crazy. In March, a high-speed cylinder object roughly 7 kilometers in mass shot through a roof of a Naples, Florida home, smashing through a ceiling and punching through the floor. NASA later confirmed that this object was an item from the International Space Station, a small leftover from a discharged multi-ton pallet let loose some 3 years earlier. That multi-ton pallet could have killed somebody. You could just be walking down the street, get hit with some space debris. Damn.
The sky above our heads is about to get way more cluttered with space junk than it already is, increasing risk of collisions, atmospheric contamination, and a runaway doomsday scenario called Kessler syndrome that could put humanity's ability to operate in space at risk. Elon Musk just got the green light to double the number of Starlink satellites currently in orbit, and to have them operate closer to Earth than ever before. He's even started pushing the idea of building AI data centers in space, and he's not the only one coveting the real estate above our heads. As their numbers increase, satellites have to take special maneuvers to avoid possible collisions more frequently, like a giant game of Frogger with extremely high stakes, since all it takes is one small piece of space junk traveling tens of thousands of miles per hour to cause severe damage to critical space infrastructure, a scenario vividly depicted in the 2013 film Gravity. So how and why is this happening? How bad is it really? and what can be done about it? I spoke to CNET reporter Joe Supan, who's been covering Starlink for years, to find out.
5-6 years ago, there were only a couple thousand satellites in space total. And now Starlink just got approved for a total of 15,000 more.
The approval from Trump's FCC is a major win for Musk, but still only about half the total number of satellites SpaceX had requested. Starlink aims to provide a wireless internet option for underserved communities where it isn't economically feasible to run cables, and the recent approval also included the green light to bring its satellites down to an even lower orbit.
Putting their satellites in low Earth orbit was really Starlink's great innovation. Like, satellite internet has been around forever, but it's generally been really slow. The latency has been really bad. By moving them closer to Earth, it really cut out those problems. You could really have modern broadband speeds through satellite internet.
Bringing these satellites even lower is a trade-off that may improve some of the latency issues Starlink users have experienced, while also making the satellites more vulnerable to damage from solar storms. When these satellites do have issues or reach the end of their working life, they're designed to burn up in the atmosphere, a process with an environmental impact that's raising concerns about air pollution, global warming, and impacts to the ozone layer. There are currently about 40,000 objects in space being tracked by space agencies like NASA and the European Space Agency. But there's estimated to be over 1 million much smaller objects that aren't being tracked, capable of causing catastrophic damage due to the high speeds at which they are moving. Starlink also isn't the only actor that's moving thousands more satellites into low Earth orbit. Competition between corporations and countries has many others worried that they need to act now or miss out on the opportunity to claim their spot in this increasingly crowded space.
It's really turned into a geopolitical tool, I think. Like, especially you see it in like Ukraine or Iran or Russia. Like, Starlink has great control over whether these areas get internet. So I think these countries are now saying, like, well, why are we relying on this company to do this? Like, we need our own LEO satellites.
We're already seeing the effects of this increasing density of material in low Earth orbit. The threat to aircraft from space junk is increasing, and satellites currently in operation are having to perform more frequent evasive maneuvers to prevent collisions.
Since I published a month ago, the FCC gave Amazon approval for 4,500 satellites. Another company called Logos got approval for 4,000. And that's just US. That's just like where the FCC has control. Globally, China filed for 200,000 satellites.
Each collision creates more debris, creating greater risk of even more collisions, which can quickly spiral into a runaway train scenario called Kessler syndrome. Some experimental efforts to reduce space junk have been explored, including using nets to catch out-of-control satellites. But this is most useful for larger debris that can be easily tracked, rather than the smaller, more dangerous stuff that can't. Elon Musk doesn't seem worried, though.
One of the things we'll be doing with SpaceX within a few years is launching solar-powered AI satellites.
Right.
People in need of internet in rural areas have long had to rely on satellites to get connected, but that could be changing with the rise of HAPS, high-altitude platform systems that use helium to float up into the stratosphere, where they're designed to stay in place over a given service area for up to a year, beaming internet directly to people's devices. Check out our special report from inside a HAPS hangar in New Mexico right here. Are you worried about space junk, or do you think the danger is overhyped? Let us know down in the comments and subscribe for more stories that make you say, what the future?
Since we have to water and feed this data center, this is the waste byproduct of the AI data centers that we have to have on this planet, guys. Arizona water is drying up, and that's not stopping the data center rushes. Let me know what y'all thinking in the comments. When I was researching, I could be wrong, but I think that what came crashing through that person's home, this was it, or it was a piece from this. But yeah, just be safe and careful, y'all. Shit's falling from the sky. The fucking sky is falling, gang. It's just like, please be safe out here. Y'all can go look up real-time space satellites in orbit right now. But this was a quick one. I just wanted to give y'all a little bit of space junk. Que tengan un buen día.